Howdy humans, it's Tim back once again. The conversation continues, and it is a topic that I wanted to address early on in this conversation, and you guys certainly want me to address this, and that is, what about the victims? Tim, have you just forgotten about the victims? Have you just stopped caring? And that is absolutely not the case. I feel like I've actually expanded my awareness to be aware of more victims and take into consideration more victims in my dietary choices. And so, let's discuss it. We're back to continue this conversation and taking the read of the room, the next point of call that could have and maybe should have been the absolute first point of call is, how can I justify the suffering that is caused to animals for the choices of my food? How can I do that? As someone vegan for 6 years who meant every single word that I said from the heart in my videos and on interviews, on TV, on London Real, on all this stuff. I meant everything I said. There was no fakery. I meant it, and it was built on compassion and awareness that I had in that moment, in that time. And now, as all humans, we should be open to expanding, to growing, to moving, to admitting when we might be wrong. And that's how we change and grow in life. That's how we solve things. And so, as much, and I understand why and how it would look this way to so many people, Tim, have you lost compassion? Has your heart shrunk? Have you stopped caring? It's not the case. It's absolutely not the case. I truly love this earth, and all dietary choices are a choice between the health and nutrition we can receive from that, and then accepting the destruction caused on the other side of that for whatever ingredients we choose to consume. When my health went and declined, and I was not able to see out of the box and pursue solving my health, I tried everything within my own, what I was guided to do, to solve my health within that. And when it didn't work, and my fast snapped me out of the ism of veganism, and I was looking at people that were healing the things that I was suffering from with methods outside of veganism, I couldn't ignore that. I couldn't ignore that as, well, it is working for some people, because I tried everything. It may look extreme because I was extremely committed. The things I tried was extreme. I was extremely committed to making it work within veganism. As much as I'm misunderstood, and that's okay, I've not seen many ex-vegans that tried as hard as me in the ways that I tried to make it work within that. And eventually I couldn't ignore information that I was seeing of other people healing outside of veganism when they stepped away from veganism. And there's a certain point when you see so many people healing from the exact same things with the same methods that I can't ignore that as a possible thing. And yet I still thought in my head, they're just weak. They're just not trying hard enough. And it was until I fasted that I realized, try that. I've gone to the depths of that alternative route. I thought I would bet everything I owned that I would have gone breatharian before eating meat. And yet, somehow, I had justified the first bite to myself. I had to justify that. I had to face everything I'd spoken for, everything I believed in. I had to face the suffering of the animal. And yet, how could I justify that? It is not through lack of compassion or lack of caring or lack of knowledge of suffering, or just forgetting about what I've seen or what I've known or what everything I understand within vegan beliefs. From my perspective, it wasn't a shrinking awareness, it was an expanding awareness. Expanding my awareness of suffering beyond the ingredients lists of the food on my plate. Expanding to the suffering that goes on for all food, for all ingredients. There is suffering and destruction caused. Whatever the diet, whatever the choice. Now, I couldn't 6 months ago, I wouldn't have listened to this. So I get it when people won't hear it. But it got to a point in myself where your health gets to a point when you have to snap out of your own beliefs and listen to new information. And so to justify it to myself, to justify eating animal products again for the first time, I was given new information, and I said, okay, maybe try that. When we look at agriculture, There is animals killed for everything we want to consume. Everything. The amount of times I've washed bugs and dead flies off of lettuce leaves for a head of lettuce. And are we really into speciesism? Speciesism was a big part of veganism for me. And veganism is about reducing suffering, and ethics is about reducing suffering. And I'm about reducing suffering and caring for this earth. I really care for this earth. And so when I acknowledge that, okay, so there's dead bugs on this lettuce. Okay, so there's slugs killed for this. Okay, so when I'm buying rice, there's rodents killed in mass agriculture. When they're deforesting all the land to grow soy plantations so we can have tofu and seitan, or the bird's nest. As long as it's not an ingredient, as long as an animal product is not an ingredient, those companies don't care. And those animals are getting killed regardless. Yes, it's not an ingredient, doesn't mean animals don't die. For the soy plantations, for the wheat plantations, for the rice, in the harvesting, in mass agriculture, squirrels, field mice, insects, bugs, birds, all killed for every dietary food choice. This is what I realized. This is what I came into awareness of. This is what I didn't block myself and bury my head in the sand. I go, animals are dying for every choice I make, and yet I'm suffering within the choice I'm making. How about, just for this choice, I know an animal suffering, and I actually have to face it with the salmon. I face that. But at least that can have a thought in my heart. It can have a mention in my prayer. I know what's gone on. I know I can trace it. This animal has died. I know that. This is how I justified it to myself. Animals die for every choice. And if we are into speciesism, where a fly is no less important than a cow, can we not acknowledge that if a human chooses to eat beef, that one animal could sustain someone for maybe 3, maybe 6 months? And the amount of insects and bugs and rodents killed for other choices might be a lot more death on the hands if you count individually. There's no right or wrong. I'm not saying what's right or wrong. I'm not justifying it to you. I'm not convincing anyone to change anything they're doing. If you're happy with your choices and you believe in it, do it. But there's everyone has their own belief system based off of their own awareness. Now, I get it. I wouldn't have heard this 6 months ago. 90% of people, this might be, you just hear me talking and it's nothing to you. But this is for the 10%, the 5% that are frustrated or that just want to understand that. Just want to understand how, Tim, how could you go back on everything that you said? When your health gets to a point, it's a human reflex. What appears to be a selfish choice was a self-love one to see, just to try it. If it didn't work, I'd go back to being vegan and I'd have to try something else within that. But when you've tried 99 things, 100 things, when you're doing the things as extreme as it appeared as I was doing, there's a point when you go, what's more extreme? Eating some fish and local eggs. You think that at this time when vegan is becoming veganism is a massive business entity now, right? I was there sitting eating vegan Ben and Jerry's, all smugs. I'm saving the planet, eating my vegan Ben and Jerry's. I'm a good human. I'm helping the earth out. While you guys in the local farm shop buying your eggs, you know you're destroying the planet, the earth. But me, I'm saving it with my vegan Ben and Jerry's. You think Ben or Jerry gives a fuck about mice and birds and insects and rodents when they're cutting down the soy plantations to make the soy ice cream? How many different ingredients are in Ben and Jerry's? 20 different ingredients, all plant-based, right? So all come from different plants from all over, from all different agriculture crops, extracted, all different farmland, monocrop culture, all put together in ingredients into one box, shipped thousands of miles across the world to your local supermarket so you can eat vegan and save the planet. I get it, because at the time it made sense to me. But there's no way you can tell me what's worse. buying local eggs from Betty's farm shop down the road, or vegan Ben and Jerry's. And so when your health goes and you had this, like, maybe I can just try it. Maybe it isn't as bad. And then when I did that and something switched on, I had a wet dream, which so many people want to be immature about. If I did see that, I'm my own doctor. If I saw a doctor, right, that would be interesting information. That's interesting information. Some hormone switched on inside me. Something re-engaged in my body. That's interesting. That's potential. I'm not saying it was. Everything since it, the depression lifted, the health in my body, the energy, the zest for life that I've got back. That was healing. So when I pursued that, I had to come to justify it. How can we really define what diet causes the least suffering or the most suffering? Animals die for all diets. That's what I came to the awareness of. That's how I justified it to myself. One guy that I've been watching, Paul Chek, really big fan of him, enjoyed him for years, got a really good book, Eat, Move and Be Healthy. Now I agreed with so much stuff he said, except for his take on veganism for many years. Just poo-pooed it, nonsense. So I get it when people won't hear it. He told a story about, he lives in San Diego next door to a persimmon farm. And one day he heard all these gunshots going off, went outside, what's happening? Next door neighbours hired hunters to come and kill all the deer that had been on the farm eating the persimmons. So even as a vegan, I was fruitarian to reduce harm on the earth, because I truly believed if we can live, that is the most karma-free food. That is causing the least destruction. The plant, you don't have to kill the plant. The fruit comes off, it gives you a seed, you enjoy the fruit, you give the seed back. It made sense to me. But when I listened to my body, it didn't work. But I really wanted it to be the case. I really wanted it to work. It seemed like the kindest, nicest thing. So even for our fruit, the farmers, they don't have to go put, just so you know, we killed deer and put it on the ingredients box of the persimmon packet. They don't have to do that. We should be open to hearing new information, to expanding our awareness and making choices, knowing that for us to live as humans on this earth, there is going to be destruction unless we just sit in a cave and fast and do nothing. Sit still. Then be breatharian, maybe levitate. Then you can not cause harm by your life. But for us to exist as humans, every choice we make, there is a cost, a consequence for it, right? None of us can do that. There's no perfection. It's the nature. We have to face it. I have to embrace it. So now when I do eat that, I know the animal. I can give gratitude. I can give thanks. It's not a mystery to me. Our ancestors would have been able to trace every ingredient to the process and what it caused. We can't do that anymore. And we might be being taken advantage of because we can't do that. Because as long as it's got vegan on the label, then an animal isn't the ingredients. But it's not as black and white as that. We've got to look beyond that. We've got to expand our understanding. If we do care about the earth, we have to be open to hearing new information. And I'm not saying you should change your ways. I'm not justifying it to anyone else. This is what I told myself. This is how I justify it to myself, to be at peace with my choice. And I am at peace with my choice. That I'm just a human learning, and I'm trying to do my best. I'm trying to do my best for my health and for the earth, and it's a balance, because every choice has a consequence. And so finding that is tough, and I'm navigating it, doing my best. But why don't I try eating local, seasonal? Maybe that's better than my vegan Ben and Jerry's and my Greggs sausage rolls and my, vegan ready meals and Magnums and whatever. Just because it's got a V on the label doesn't mean animals didn't die. They don't even get a credit. A lot of animals probably died and they don't even get a credit. I'm not saying I won't ever be vegan again or veggie again. This is just me navigating my path of life that I'm given as I'm giving it, and using my awareness in each moment, and being open to growth, and admitting I don't know what's right or wrong. What I love about the vegan movement is the first time any of us made or attempted to make a conscious dietary choice. And it was a safety mechanism. Us seeing these documentaries and going, whoa, that's my those are the consequences of my choices. To eat meat, I can see that, I'm faced with that. An emotional response kicked off within us. I do not want to contribute to that, so I'm going to stop. And it was a beautiful safety thing that we all had that strength to do that I had that strength to do that. But I understand that often when we're emotional, when we make emotional choices, it's not always the most rational or armed with the most information. And as we grow, we should be able to grow with those choices and navigate those choices and go, okay, that was great, but now I understand that there's still suffering caused on all sides. There's not videos in the fields of the soy plantations of the animals getting cut up. It's not as easy to capture. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't put them in our thoughts and in our choice and make note of that for our choices. I want us all to make the best choices for ourselves and for the earth. And I just want you to do what you believe is the best choice for you and for the earth. And I do what I believe is the best choice for me and for the earth. If you truly believe that what you're doing is the best thing for the earth and for your health, because I want you to care about your health as well, then please keep doing what you're doing. That's all any of us can do. And that's all I'm trying to do. As much as possible, we just have to stay open. Especially at a time like this, when the growth is so exponential. While many of us are at war with our local farmers, which would have been our ancestors' best friends, our allies, whilst defending giant corporations because they've decided to make us a product with a B on it. Please, if you care about the earth, keep considering all choices. Keep growing your awareness. Just because it's got a green V on it, it might not be the best choice, the most ethical choice for the earth. In most cases, it could be. Just be aware and be open. Thank you guys. I love the passion. Let's keep it going. We'll get to the bottom of this. Get closer to what it is, the root of what it is to be human, and live upon and with this earth. Much love, guys. Godspeed.